Welcome back, my dear students. We are continuing the kiosk mode, and as you can see, we left it here with this little text box at the top. Again, CSS design, not my strong suit. Hopefully you're better at it than I am. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at our code, and one of the things, if you go into this kiosk mode file, I have an extra CSS snippet. Now, just as a reminder, I haven't shown you this in a while, but if you go to GitHub/SmartScan, you can see here all the different commits I made. Now, one of the tricks here is that if you hover over this time, you can see the date and time that the commit was made. Now, I always keep my clock showing on my computer here, so you can see when I made a commit. And so I just made one called snippets that will allow you, if you go in there to that file. So if I click on this thing, I can go in the file called kioskmode.php, and you can grab that little container snippet right here that I just made. So anyway, that's just an idea so you can get back to this code. But to come back here, I made this little snippet, and I'm going to comment it in. You can paste it in from the thing. And basically, this is to try to center the text on the absolute middle of the page. And so if we come back here to this, it'll probably break a couple things. Yeah, you can see how it messed up the copyright, which is actually fine because for the copyright, it doesn't really need to be on the kiosk. So in fact, let's just get rid of the copyright message on the kiosk, and now we can refresh the page, and that's gone. So we've centered this on here, so it looks a little bit better. I mean, we're getting there. If we were to have a kiosk, that would be a slight improvement. So what we can do here is we really could get rid of this one and make it 12. So because the content is centered exactly on the screen, we should be able to, I haven't tested this, we should be able to get rid of this one and make this 12. So now the entire, oh no, actually we can't do that, because we don't want it. If we did this, it would take up the entire width of the screen. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you since I started that. If I were to come here and were to delete this, we'll comment it out because I still want it, and make this 12, then what would happen is eventually, and you'll see why, we'll do the next step and you'll see where it become a problem. So we have that centered, but it's still a small text box. So what we're going to do next is we're going to add a class here called form control, and this is where we would have a problem. Class equals form-control, and what this does is this makes the form input look a little bit nicer. The problem is when we refresh the page, then it's kind of big. So what we'll do, we'll come back here and we will leave this thing as 3. So we're going to let this take up the left quarter of the page, and we're going to change this to 6, so that basically our text box can only take up what'll be roughly half the page, or half the available page. So okay, nice, we have our scan your tag thing there. Now it's still not super big, and we're not going to get too much into it, but like we could try, let's try this. Let's try changing this paragraph tag here to an H1 tag, and we might want to get the submit button out of that, but let's just try changing this and actually putting an H1 tag around the input, and let's just see what happens. I have no idea. Not much. I would have thought the font would have gotten bigger there, but there's something kind of stopping that font from getting bigger. So all right, let's we'll keep the paragraph tag. Go back again. We're designing on the fly. You're learning how to code as I'm learning how to code. So what we're going to do, we are going to do something with the button. So let's add a class equals button primary. Let's try that. And so what this is, you need both of these classes if you want the nice rounded off button. And so we'll refresh the page, and now we have the little go thing there. That's not bad. It's not terrible. It you know, makes it pop a little bit. So now what we want to do, let's put a heading tag, an H1 tag in here, and say check your balance or something like that. So let's come in here and do H1 check your balance, and we might as well center it. class equals text center. I think that'll work on H1. Yep. So obviously this is not white, and it would be way better if it was white. So I think we're probably going to need these H1 tags a few times on our code. So for kiosk mode, what if we went into your kiosk mode? And it's funny because I was really determined that I was not going to be teaching CSS in this class, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So what if we did H1 and then we did color white? Let's try that, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so our color is white. That's good. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we can just do size 3em. Let's try that. See what happens there. Absolutely nothing. So what if we try this? What if we try font size? You can tell I do this kind of work every single day. Font size, there we go. Okay, so it's bigger, and so if 3 is good, then 5 would be better. And let's try this. Nope, I misspoke about that. So let's come back here to 4, see if that works. Okay, not bad. Now we may decide to do, I'd like to get at least a break, a line break below that, that box there, and we may figure out how to make this more bold, but at least we have something going on there. So let's try coming back to our kiosk mode here. I shouldn't be snapping around like this, but I really want to see it full screen. So let's just go ahead and add a break right here just to give us a little bit of space there. Now, I will say this is standard HTML, but let's say this would be a good place like if you wanted to do some kind of logo. So we'll get into actually doing an official logo later for our system, but you could do something like, you know, image, and then you could say users images logo.png, and let's just see what happens there. And we have the user spice logo. You would want some kind of logo there. You're going to want something probably fairly big up here, and so we'll come back to that, but there's room to make it prettier. But for now, I wanted to let you know that you can kind of do whatever you want with this. We're not going to spend a lot of time working on styling. The functionality works. So let's go over to the argument settler and see how that one looks, because I have a feeling we're going to have some issues there. So if we go to argue.php, okay, that's good. I mean, we definitely could be worse. We have the argument settler thing. Now, again, the copyright notice is getting in the way. So we're going to get rid of the footer just because our crazy CSS that we're doing to override that got in the way. So if I were to snap, I think we can safely keep both sets of things on here at the same time now. So if I snap this over, we can see that the argument settler got in the way. Or got out of the way. And so let's take a look here. Maybe instead of doing the CSS to force all this to be white, what if we say, let's look here. Let's try to get our text over. So person 1, okay. Let's do this. Let's figure out what font size this is. So person 1, scan your badge. Where does that say? That's an H3. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we change this to H1. No, let's just do H3. Copy this. Okay, so let's do H3 color equals white because I'm pretty happy with the font size. So we refresh the page. Okay, great. That's white. But now what we can do is we can come in here and we can manually say font color equals red like this. I'm pretty sure. Let's get that tag closed. And then font. And let's just take a look. Let's refresh the page. Yeah, so we can make that and just make it a little bit more obvious that we're talking about person 1 as if the all caps wasn't enough. You're going to be like, dude, this guy cannot type. But you don't understand. If you've never made these type of videos, you don't really understand the pressure of trying to code and trying to think of what you're going to say. And I'm really working on trying not to say as much. And I'm writing this off the top of my head, and you guys are watching me, and it's just a lot of pressure. So I'm sorry for my typing. I've got a microphone in front of my face. So anyway, there's that. So I just got done saying again. So there's we could do the whole, I guess we could do form control on this if we wanted to say class equals form control, and that would make that a little bit bigger. And then we could come down here and add a line break between these. Oh, goodness gracious. We could add a line break there, and so we could refresh the page. And that did absolutely nothing. What happened there? Oh, you know why? Because I have two of them. So we could come here. Let's add that line break up here too. And then we're going to do class equals form control here. Okay, great. Refresh the page. I don't know that that's actually, maybe it is. Full screen. I don't know. Maybe, I think the thing is that the whole thing is too wide. So if we were to come in here, the other one, instead of being 12, was column 6, and then had a column 3 before. So what you can do, you can really, so instead of doing that, I did that cheap thing over here where I did call, and then I did like, you know, over 3 and then ended it, or div 3 ended it. What you can do, and really the right way to do it, is to write small offset 3. And so a lot of times I like to make the extra div here and just open and close it so I can go back and put something later. But really the right way to do it is to make the first one the size you want, and then the second one is how much you want to offset. So basically this is going to be half the page, and it's going to offset a quarter of the page. And I'm sure a lot of you who know CSS have already been yelling at me for doing that. And of course, as I did that, it didn't look very good. So we're going to go back and try the cheap way to do it. And we're going to say, let's try this way for experiments. Call SM3. And then we'll bring this up here just to keep it as one row. Okay, let's refresh the page, and that's centered. So maybe I messed up something with the offset, but I think because it was a column small that offset was the right way. But because of what we were doing here, it didn't work the way you're supposed to do it. So this is good. Maybe we can go ahead. One last thing is put a class on this badge. I don't know if you've really seen, if you haven't worked much with Bootstrap, then you probably wouldn't know much about how this works. But there's some kind of cool classes. I'm going to snap this to the left, and we're going to go to the scan your badge button. Now, I just got done telling you a couple of videos ago about the don't repeat yourself, and I wind up repeating myself here. And so that's really not great. But so we have 2 scan your badge things, and really there should only be 1. But that's fine. So I'm going to do class equals button, and then I'm going to do button danger. Why is one? Oh, okay. So I'm going to do button danger, and then I refresh the page. Now every single template is going to have a different color for danger. It's usually red, but not always red. And so if I come back over here to the code, I can do info, and if I do info, it's usually blue. And then you can come over here and do primary, and this one's red. Now because that's red and that's red, I kind of like that. So button primary works, but you can play around with these classes, and if you just Google Bootstrap class colors, you should be able to get an idea of all the different button colors that you have available to you. So that's 15 minutes. We have cleaned up our argument settler and our kiosk mode stuff, and it's not where we want it to be, but it's at a place now where you can basically do all the styling you want and make it whatever you want. So we're not going to spend a ton more time on this kiosk stuff.